Hello students, I am Dr. Sangeetha from Department of Life Sciences, Indian Academy Degree College, Autonomous, Bangalore. In nature, when you see, there is a close connection between plants and animals because all living organisms depend on each other for their food and survival. There is some interconnectedness in the ecosystem. So today let us see the first unit of environmental studies, Introduction to Environment, Ecosystem and Biodiversity, where we study about this interconnectedness. Today we will learn about food chain, food web and energy pyramid. Coming to the first topic, food chain. Now, what do you mean by a food chain? Food chain tells about the movement of nutrients and energy in an ecosystem. So, it is defined as the linear sequence of organisms through which nutrients and energy pass as one organism eats another and later that organism is consumed by another organism. So, it is basically a process of eating and being eaten. Every level in a food chain is called as trophic level. So, trophic level refers to the position of an organism in a food chain. The flow of nutrients and energy from one organism to another at different trophic levels will form what is called as food chain. Now, let us see what are the key components of food chain. Now, there are three main components of food chain. They are producers, consumers and decomposers. What are these producers? Let us see. Producers are nothing but they are the plants. They are also called as autotrophs. Autotrophs or the plants will convert sunlight into energy through the process, as all of you know, it's called as photosynthesis. So, producers will form the base of any food chain. The second key component are the consumers. Consumers are heterotrophs that obtain energy by consuming other organisms. So, consumers can again be divided into primary consumers, secondary consumers or tertiary consumers and so on. The primary consumers are the herbivores. Herbivores are animals that eat plants. The secondary or tertiary consumers are the carnivores. Carnivores are animals that eat other animals. So you have got producers as one of the component. They are called as autotrophs. Autotrophs are those which can prepare their own food. The second one is component is consumers. They are called as heterotrophs. They obtain energy by consuming other organisms. And consumers are of different types, or it starts with primary consumers, goes on with secondary, tertiary, quaternary and so on. So the primary consumers are the herbivores. The secondary and tertiary consumers are the carnivores. The last key component of food chain are the decomposers. Decomposers are the organisms like bacteria and fungi that can break down the dead materials, the dead plants and animals, and return the nutrients back into the soil. So these are the three key components of food chain. Now here you can see a picture showing a food chain starting with the producers. So you can see the grass, which is the producer, then goes to grasshopper, which is the primary consumer. Then frog, the secondary consumer, which consumes grasshopper, the primary consumer. Then the snake, which is the tertiary consumer. And finally the apex consumer, that is the hawk. And then to the decomposer. So it starts with producers, consumers and then to the decomposers. So this is a very simple food chain which you can see in nature, starting with plants, grasshoppers feeding on the plants, frogs feeding on the grasshopper, snake feeding on the frog, hawks or the eagle feeding on the snake, and finally the dead plants and materials which are decomposed by the bacteria and fungi. The nutrients go back to the soil again. Coming to the trophic levels in food chain, trophic levels refers to the position of an organism in the food chain. So when you see each level, you can see in the picture which is given below, each level will give a step in the transfer of energy from one group of organism to another. So starting with the energy transfer from producers to the primary consumers to secondary, tertiary and quaternary. So energy is transferred from one organism to the another organism, and in this energy flow, some of the energy is lost as heat. Coming to the types of food chains can be classified into different types. So the main two types of food chain which you can see here is grazing food chain and detritus food chain. So this classification is based on the source of energy and the organisms which are involved. The first type is called as grazing food chain. Grazing food chain will begin with the producers. So producers, then the primary consumers, secondary and tertiary consumers. So the chain goes like this. So from plants to the herbivores, then to the carnivores, which forms the secondary and tertiary consumers. The second type of food chain is called as detritus food chain. The detritus food chain starts with the decomposing organic matter. So decomposing organic matter includes the dead plants and animals, and then to the detritivores. Detritivores are those organisms which feed on these detritus, and then the decomposers. So this food chain goes like this, starting with the decomposing organic matter. So these are the two types of food chain. Coming to the importance of food chain. So food chain has a great importance in ecosystem with respect to energy flow and nutrient cycling. So energy which is got from the sun, trapped by the plants, it is transferred from one organism to another organism. Food chain also shows interdependence of species. So how each organism relies on other for survival. So relationship within a food chain will show the interconnectedness of species. Food chain also help us to understand a balance in nature. It is essential, a balanced food chain is essential for a healthy and stable ecosystem. So food chains help us understand how population of different species are regulated. The importance of food chain also lies in tracking toxic substances. So it helps, it has a role in the transfer and accumulation of toxic substances. So when you go from one trophic level to another trophic level, the pollutants or the toxins which are entering the ecosystem, they are absorbed by the organism, it is passed along the food chain and accumulating at higher concentration when you go to higher trophic levels. Now coming to the next concept which is called as food web. Now what is the difference between a food chain and a food web? Food web is considered to be several interconnected food chains. So food web, it looks similar to food chain, but it is comparatively larger when you compare with the food chain, because there are many food chains which are interconnected. So a single organism can be consumed by many predators, or it can itself consume several other organisms. Now here many trophic levels are interconnected. So food web will show you proper representation of energy flow because it shows interaction between different organisms. Coming to the last topic, which is called as energy pyramid. So you would have seen in this PPT right from the beginning, there are so many ecological pyramids which are shown. One of this is energy pyramids, which shows a visual representation of energy transfer in an ecosystem. So you can see how much energy is available at each trophic level. And this pyramid is always upright. It's not an inverted one. Energy pyramids are always upright. At the bottom where primary producers are there, that shows largest amount of energy, and very least at the top of the pyramid. So producers like plants, they form the base of the pyramid and they convert sunlight into energy through photosynthesis. And as you move up, you can see from producers to primary consumers, secondary consumers, a large portion of energy is lost as heat and it is unavailable to the next level. So energy pyramid You can see as shown, it is always upright with largest amount of energy at the bottom and the least at the top. Thank you, students.